or damaging the integrity of the investigation. So if you just kind of bear with me, I'll walk you through it. First you need to know and understand that policing is a dangerous and dynamic and complex job. And it often requires split-second decisions that will be judged and second-guessed, sometimes for a lifetime. We hope as officers that we never, ever have to use deadly force. But there are times that we're forced to do so, and in those situations, we expect and fully accept the high level of public scrutiny that comes along or that comes as a result of having to use that force. In these current times, it is imperative that the Louisville Metro Police Department continue to be a model of transparency in policing. Therefore, we will be publicly releasing the body camera footage of all three officers following this press conference. But I'll tell you, even with the release of the body camera footage, you need to understand that a thorough and complete investigation is required to understand exactly what occurred. We owe that to the suspect. We owe that to the suspect's family. We owe it to the men and women of this department, and we owe it to this community to truly understand what happened. You need to understand that every officer-involved situation is unique. There's no typical scenario. Every one of these needs to be looked at, and even with our digital age here that allows us to review that officer-involved video or the officer's body camera video within hours, you still don't know exactly what happened until you've done a thorough and complete investigation. And that investigation is important because what it tells us is whether or not that use of deadly force was truly justified. It lets us know whether our policies and procedures and training were followed by the involved officers. And it also identifies any future training or policy needs that we might have and allows us the opportunity to make those corrections. Now, please understand that this investigation is still ongoing. And I would ask that you please consider my comments as preliminary in nature. The information that I am providing represents the best information that I have as of right now. And as I stated earlier, I may not be able to answer all of your questions because this investigation is still, in fact, ongoing. I'd like to just recap what happened this morning at the shooting. And I want to start with just a comment. I understand that the family has identified the suspect in this case, but the Jefferson County Coroner's Office has not released his name officially yet, and they are tasked with doing so. Therefore, I will not be releasing the suspect's name in this situation, and I will be referring to him in my comments as the suspect. I can tell you that he was an African-American man in his mid-50s. And again, just to walk through the shooting. This morning at approximately 1:35 a.m., 2nd Division Officers Taylor Banks, and that is Taylor, last name Banks, Banks. The 2nd Officer Bo Gattagard, that is spelled first name Beau, last name Gadegaard, and Brian Smith, common spelling, responded to a report of domestic violence in an apartment located in the 4900 block of Broadleaf Drive. The dispatchers advised the officers that the suspect had kicked in the door at that address and he was armed with a knife as he entered the apartment. Upon arrival, a witness told our officers that the suspect was armed with a knife. As the officers approached the apartment, the suspect opened the door and approached the officers. He was armed with a large, curved, bladed object. The officers told the man to drop it. And then Officer Banks and Gattagard fired their weapon multiple times, striking the suspect multiple times. The officers immediately called for EMS. Officer Banks and Gattagard handcuffed the suspect and then entered the apartment to ensure that no one else was inside the apartment, while Officer Smith secured the scene, the complainant, and the witnesses. Once the scene was secure, the officers assessed the condition of the suspect and called for EMS. They asked EMS to step up their response at one point because the suspect was no longer breathing or alert. You will see in the footage that a bystander asks the officers why they weren't providing first aid. The officer assures the bystander that an ambulance had been called, and indeed we know that officers had called for EMS and that they were providing several updates regarding the condition of the suspect to EMS while waiting for their arrival. While our officers are trained to provide aid in most situations, as I stated earlier, every situation is unique, and it is only through that thorough investigation that we will be able to understand and fully determine whether or not these officers provided the appropriate level of aid in that situation. As is our normal protocol, Officer Banks and Gattagard have been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. This investigation is being completed by our Public Integrity Unit. Now to share just a little additional information about the three officers. All three are assigned to our 2nd Division. Officer Taylor Banks has been with the department since June 8th of 2015. Officer Bo Gattagard has been with the department since June 9th of 2014. And Officer Brian Smith has been with the department since March 24th of 2008. I want to note, make it clear that Officer Smith did not fire his weapon during this incident. You will be receiving photos of the officers at the end of this press conference. Now I want to talk a little bit about the body camera video. In the interest of transparency, as I've already mentioned, we'll be releasing the 3 officers' body camera video. This will be posted on our YouTube channel for anyone in this community to be able to see, as well as each of you in the media. We are in the process of uploading the files. It is a rather large file. We'd hoped to have it uploaded in time for the start of this press conference, but in talking to our technical folks, it looks like it might be another hour or so before that is complete. Once that upload is complete, though, we will notify all of the media outlets and we will post it on our social media so everyone will know that it is available for them to view. When we started using the body cameras, which we started last year, in rolling out our cameras, made it clear that these cameras have some limitations. These limitations are evident as you look at these videos. For instance, you do not, with a body camera, you don't see everything you would see by the human eye. You are only going to get what the camera can capture, and they have a limited field of view as opposed to our eyes, which if you have normal vision can see about 180 degrees. The cameras can only see about 70 degrees. You also do not have a stable platform for the recording. In other words, the videos kind of jiggle around as the officers move. Both of these factors take a place as you view these videos. And the other thing that I want to make very, very clear, the video captures a man losing his life. The videos are very, very graphic in nature, and I want to warn you and warn viewers as they look at it. As you look at these videos, you will no doubt have questions. As I looked at the videos, I have questions. The purpose of the Public Integrity the purpose of the Public Integrity Unit investigation is to answer these questions. And any questions that aren't answered in that investigation will be followed up with a professional standards investigation, which is our internal review, which will ensure that we have the answers that we need. A little bit about public integrity. Our Public Integrity Unit is led by a lieutenant. There are a number of sergeants who are assigned to that unit. All of these sergeants have extensive experience in use of force investigations. They have extensive training, and they will be Many of them actually worked as homicide detectives before they were promoted to sergeant. The Public Integrity Unit in an officer-involved shooting situation will be responsible for the entire investigation. They did the scene investigation. They have canvassed for witnesses. They've interviewed witnesses. They're working and have worked with our crime scene unit to collect evidence and to photograph the scene. They've worked to find and collect video evidence from the area, and they'll be working with specialists on any forensic analysis that's needed. In particular, public integrity in this case either has or will attend the postmortem examination of the suspect. They'll be working to gather additional information about him. They'll be conducting a canvass for witnesses. They'll be looking for additional video in the area. They will be interviewing the officers who were involved. The weapons and other evidence will be collected and taken to the state police lab for additional forensic analysis. And we would anticipate receiving the completed autopsy report and toxicology report in 6 to 8 weeks. Once that investigation is complete, it will be submitted to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for consideration of any possible charges. If there is a decision that these officers should be charged, the matter will be presented to a grand jury for possible indictments. If after review the Commonwealth Attorney's Office does not believe charges are warranted, they will advise me and we will be closing the public integrity investigation, and at that point I will order an internal review, which is done by our professional standards unit. The purpose of that investigation is to look for any violations of our standard operating procedures and also to identify possible improvements in our policies or training. I'll also share that every public integrity unit investigation that results or that is conducted in a result of a death that has been caused at the hands of our officers, whether in a shooting or in a collision of some sort, that investigation is presented for an external review to the Citizens Commission on Police Accountability. They have the responsibility of reviewing these incidents, and then it is their job to advise the mayor and myself about anything that they see in terms of the quality and adequacy of the investigation, and they also make recommendations about any possible changes on policy or training. The last thing that I want to cover, and I see you all have copies of our current use of force policy. I just want to highlight a couple of points from this because I think it gives some context to this situation. First and foremost, and the policy opens with this, the members of our department, we recognize and appreciate the importance of human life. We respect basic human rights, and we have an intolerant attitude towards the abusive treatment of anyone. Under our policies, our officers are allowed to use whatever force is reasonable to protect themselves from bodily harm. Now, officers, to the extent possible, use an escalating scale of options when they're using force, but understand that they're not required to use one before they go to the next option. The degree of force must be reasonable. The levels of the continuum are first and foremost an officer's presence, then offering verbal direction, soft empty hand control, which would be grabbing someone by the arm or by the leg or by the belt, or restraining devices, which would be handcuffs, chemical agents or tasers, hard empty hand control, which would be a strike with a fist or a kick, an impact weapon, which would be the use of one of our batons, and then finally would be deadly force. Good judgment is extremely important when deciding which tactic to use and how much force to apply in any given situation. Under our policies and under our laws for the use of force in Kentucky, particularly deadly force, it is authorized in the defense of oneself or another when the officer reasonably believes, based on the facts and circumstances, that the person against whom the force is used possesses an immediate threat of death or serious physical injury, which applies or appears to apply in this situation. And the final point I want to make on that, in every use of force situation, especially in those deadly use of force situations, an officer must be able to articulate his or her actions. And that, again, will be part of what we'll be looking at in the public integrity investigation and professional standards unit investigation. Now, thank you for bearing with me. With that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
How many times was the suspect shot?
That is still a matter that is under investigation. He was shot multiple times.
Can you explain the relationship between the suspect and the caller?
I understand that they are or were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Chief, after seeing this video, does it show what you said this morning? Does it show officers telling the suspect to drop the weapons or what he had in his hand?
The officers are seen and, or actually heard on the video saying drop it a number of times.
And what did he do after that?
He was shot.
Did he like lunge at them, or was there?
In the video, in one of the three videos, you can see the man coming at them. I did not see a lunge, but you can see a portion of his body, his legs, and he is coming towards the officer.
Have you talked to anyone who said that he was hard of hearing?
No, I have not. However, you will, I think, as you view the video and have an opportunity to listen to the video, the officers were in very close proximity to the suspect at the time of the shooting, and they were very loud and very clear with their commands to drop it, which was a reference to the curved bladed object that he was holding.
And can you talk about because of what's going on around the country?
Yes,
is that
sir.
why, right up front, you even said this morning that the officers were treated as suspects by the Public Integrity Unit?
And let me explain that comment and put some context in that for you. What I was attempting to explain to one of the reporters that asked the question was how the Public Integrity Unit works. When they do an investigation, they are doing a criminal investigation as opposed to professional standards, which does an internal investigation. When you are being investigated for a potential criminal violation, you have the same rights as any other person who might be investigated for a crime. So in those situations, an officer has all the same rights. This is, again, the public integrity investigation that any other citizen would have, which would be the right to have an attorney with you before making any statement, the right to remain silent. And often we get asked, well, how come you didn't just make the officer give us a statement? You can't do that in a criminal investigation with anybody, whether they're an officer or anyone else. And I was trying to explain that officers are treated in that fashion as anyone else who is the focus of a criminal investigation. I used the word suspects, and that was probably a poor choice of words on my part at 5 in the morning.
What duties is Officer Smith going to be assigned to?
Unless there was some reason that came up today for him to be reassigned, he will be back riding the beat.
And Chief, can you talk a little bit about, you said moving forward this investigation will be combing the area for possible surveillance from other apartments and everything else.
Yes, ma'am.
The victim/suspect in this case, where was his girlfriend when this was going on? Is she going to play a key role in the investigation? Was she hiding or was she right there? Where was she when this happened?
She was in close proximity to the time of the shooting, and in terms of the role she'll play, she was a witness based on where she was standing.
Were there any other witnesses?
There were other witnesses.
People that lived in the apartment complex?
There was a person there with her that does not live in the apartment complex, and there were other people there as well.
A friend of hers?
I'm not going to identify the nature of their relationship.
Okay.
Chief, you said you have questions. What are your questions?
Essentially, I've got a question about the use of force, and that's something that we'll need to look at and understand when it was used and how it was used. I've got questions about the whole point of rendering aid. And again, as I said in my statement, every one of those needs to be looked at, and those questions need to be answered. And you know, the biggest question that you always have in every use of force investigation is whether or not that use of force was justified.
Do you know that?
And I excuse me, I'm sorry. And you never know that till the investigation is complete. And you know, I can look at a situation and make some judgments, but my judgment's not the one that counts. The one that counts is the Commonwealth Attorney and in some cases the grand jury. I'm sorry.
Do you know the distance the officers were from the suspect, and do you feel like your officers were in danger after seeing the video?
The exact distances I don't know. I'm estimating, and just based on the video and the opportunity to see the scene, that one officer was maybe 5 to 7 feet away, and the other maybe another 7 to 10 feet away. And again, I don't know what they felt. The fact that they used deadly force to protect their life indicates that they felt a threat to their life, which would have justified them to use deadly force. But again, that will be part of our investigation, and we'll have to see how they articulate it. And as I mentioned at the end of my statement, they are going to have to be able to articulate and justify their reasoning.